Hello friends, welcome again back to another beautiful tutorial. So today is a very beautiful one indeed. I'll show you how to make this kaftan gown using a lace fabric. This has a bishop collar, a puff sleeve, and together with the inner wear. Yes, let's get to it. And so on my table, you can see this is my lace fabric. Okay, and of course, and this is the plain fabric. This is the Duchess fabric I'll be using for the inner wear and some parts of the collar and hemmings, and of course my working tools. So let's do this. So on my table already, I have my fabric folded into four. Okay, so I'm trying to manage this fabric because this is exactly 3 years with a little bit of some inches. Okay, yeah, actually I'm supposed to have 3.5 years, but I ended up doing some joining on the lower part. And so what I needed is 58 inches. That's my exact length is 58 inches. But what I have was here is about 55 inches, which means I'll be needing some extra pieces to make up for my length, and I'll be getting that by the sides, okay, when I'm done cutting. And so the way I folded my fabric, you can see they have some shortages at the edge there, so I intentionally folded this part off so that I can take off those shortages. I'll use that as my slope. You can see, so my slope, ordinarily I won't make it this wide, but I had to do this so that I can manage that fabric. Okay, so on the other end, of course, I'll mark 3 inches there. Then I'll go ahead and connect it to my slope. You can see what I'm doing now. So that's, we have that there. So from my sleeve opening there, from my slope rather, I will indicate 17 inches I'm going to be using for my sleeve opening. It can be lesser, it can be even a little bit more, depending on how puffy you want your puff sleeve there. Okay, and remember, this is a cut together puff sleeve. So on that line, I had to fix in my body circumference. So I'm working with the biggest measurements here, and that's the hip, 44 divided by 4, and that's 11. I added extra 4 inches to that, and that made it towards 15. Okay, so this is meant to be a free one, and so I added as much as 4 inches. So you can make it 3, you can make it 2, depending on how loose or fitted you want it to be. So of course I also added extra 1 inches for sewing. So I'll take it from that point all the way to the end of my dress. You can see what I'm doing all the way to the very end, more like making an A-line shape there. You can see, and that's just it. So on that angle now, I will make my armhole curve right there. And that will be it for what? The side drafting. So you can see that. Yeah, that's it. So moving over to the neckline. So I'm going to be using a neck width of 3. Remember, this is a collar outfit, so I'm using neck width of 3. Then for the back neckline, I'm going to be making use of what? 1.5. Okay, 1.5. So if you want it to really, the collar to be more close to the neck, you can do 1 inches or even 0.5. Okay, yes, so I worked with 1.5. And then the neck depth for the front is 3 inches. So neck width of 3, neck depth of 1.5 for the back, and the neck depth of 3 for the front, and that's it. So I'll just go ahead now and start cutting. So I'll first of all cut the slope, then after that I'll cut the back neckline first. So guys, this is the perfect time to hit the subscribe button if you've not done that. Please don't forget to like, share. I will appreciate this a lot. Okay? All right, so we're done with the slope. So I'll go ahead now and cut the neckline. I'm just trying to be sure that I get that 3 inches right, and of course 1.5 inches. So just readjusting that properly. So cutting out for the back neckline here, you can see. All right, then I'll go ahead, of course, and cut the sides. Okay, yeah, so go ahead and cut the sides, and of course through the armhole, you can see. So that excesses I have is what I will use to complete my length. Okay, so I'll just do some trimmings and joining to complete the length. And the good thing, it has the edges. Okay, so it will even make it look like a design on the lower parts. So that's what I'm going to be doing later on. By the time I attach it, it will be looking something like this. You can see how it's already looking with those lace edges or lace trimmings, you can see. Yeah, so that's it. Then of course I had to trim off that excesses on the sleeve parts, because I'm going to be folding that part for elastic casing. And this is what we have, guys. You can see the look. All right, so our dress is ready already. So the next thing, of course, now is to start the sewing process. So sorry, my camera just went a little bit up at some point. So I actually had to make a slit at the center back front. At the center front, I had to go down by 8 inches. Okay, yes, at the center front, because we're going to be fixing a button there. So by the time I open it, this is what the front looks like. You can see what the front looks like after making that slit. And of course, this is what the back looks like. So the next thing I'll do now is to go ahead and place my fabric right side to right side, front and back. Then I'll go join the shoulders. After joining the shoulders, the two shoulders, of course, then I will now make the casing on my sleeve. That's for the elastic, where we'll be passing the elastic through. So I'll make a casing on that sleeve part. I'll do that, of course, for the two sleeve. Okay, yeah, so I'll be doing this much later, right? Yeah, then after that, of course, I'll also finish up with the joining of those trimmings to complete my length. So this one I'll be doing much later. So let's go ahead and cut the inner wear now. So for my inner wear, this is the plain fabric. This is a Duchess and it's exactly 2 yards. So, and it comes by the length of 60 by 60. So I just folded it into 4, exactly the way you see it, into 4. And like I said, it's just 2 yards. So what I did there was just to mark my 8 inches. This is just like the regular bodice pattern. Just mark 8 inches with 1 inch slope. Marked my 3 inches, and of course I'm making my slope right there. You can see this. Then, of course, the chest line, I worked with 8 inches because I didn't want the armhole to be too wide. Regularly, I use 9, so I used 8 inches now. So, and of course, I had to extend the shoulder width, which is 16 divided by 2. I had to extend it to that chest line. And of course, get the midpoint from that slope and create my armhole. So this is just a regular bodice pattern here. Now on the chest line, I'll fix the bust circumference. I'm working with 38 divided by 4, 9.5. So I marked 9.5 and I went ahead to add extra 3 inches to that. You can see that now, that's for that. Then the next thing I did now was to get the actual length of my inner wear. Okay, so this does not have to be the exact full length of your gown. Okay, so it's always good to take off like 3 to 4 inches away from your full length. Yeah, that's what I did here. So once I got that, I marked the length, my desired length. Now for the neckline, I used a neck width of 4 and a neck depth of 6. So I just used the same neck measurement for both the front and the back. Okay, yeah, neck width of 4 and a neck depth of 6 inches. You can see what we have here now, and that's just it for the neckline. There is just straightforward. Now for my shoulder width, you can see my shoulder, I have about 3.5, but this is sleeveless and I wanted at the end of the day my shoulder to be like 1.5, so I had to mark 2.5. So I reduced it to 2.5 and readjusted my armhole just like you see me doing right now. You can see. So I had to readjust, and of course I discarded the initial one. It's that simple. There's nothing extra here. Yeah. So now I'm going ahead to mark my waist line. So from the top, I indicated the waistline at 17. So at that waistline, I fixed in the waist circumference and I'm working with 36 divided by 4, and that is 9. I marked the 9 inches there, and of course I still went ahead to add the extra 3 inches as well. You can see that. So connecting it from that chest line to the waistline, you can see Then I will take it all the way to the end of my dress, more like an A-line shape, okay? So to give it that ease on the lower parts. And that's it, guys. It's that simple and straightforward. You can see, very simple. So going ahead to cut this out, the neckline, the shoulders, and of course, cut the other parts. Guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done that yet, please take your time, hit the subscribe button, like, share. Don't forget to on the notification bell so that you always get notified whenever I upload my content on this channel, okay? Thank you so much. So the extras I have from this my piece, I'll be using that for the collar and some, biased hemming, right? Yeah. So this is what it looks like when we're done. Very straightforward. And of course, the sewing process is like the easiest. Just go ahead and pipe the neckline, both the neckline and the armholes. You can use your bias tape for that. Then after that, you go ahead and join the shoulders. You can see. Once you're done joining the shoulders, then you can now sew the sides. Then after you're done sewing the sides, the final thing, of course, to do will be to hem the lowest part of this inner wear, and that will be it, guys. You can see, easy peasy, guys, very easy. And that's it for our inner wear. So I'll finish up with this later on, but we'll have to move over to our lace fabric. So before I go ahead to join the shoulders and also to create the casing on the sleeve, I'm going to also be working on the center piece of my front piece as well. You can see that center part, that slit opening there. I will use this plain fabric to also pipe it, okay? Then before piping, actually, I'll also make some loops. There has to be a button there. And this tiny piece of fabric, this is 1.5 inches in width, and the length is about 3 inches is okay to be used for that. 3 inches or 2.5 is okay, depending on the size of the buttons you want to put. But this has to be a small button. Yeah, so just make a fold like this, then go ahead and fold it into two, just like you see me demonstrating. Then once you do that, you start sewing it on that slit, okay? So you sew and leave about 1 inches interval, either 1 inches or 0.5 inches, depending on where. By the time you arrange it, you know the number of spaces you have to leave. And of course, you're not starting from the very top. You have to leave about 0.5 or even 1 inches from the startup point there. So by the time you're done sewing it, you can see what the loops looks like. So after sewing all your loops, you can now use your bias trimming to pipe that neckline. So I'll go finish all this up, and of course I'll come back to show you the next step. And when I was done, you can see our inner wear is ready, like very, very easy, looking all good. You can see. So we're done with this one. All I need to do is to give it a good press and we're good to go. So I'll set this aside, then we'll move over. Now for the lace part, you can see I've also gone ahead to join the lower part. I've made up for my length. You can see how beautiful it's looking on the lower part with that trimming. You can see this. Yeah, so that is done for the lower part there. Then, of course, on the upper part, I've gone ahead to join the shoulders. You can see I've joined the shoulders on both sides, and of course created the casing for the elastic. You can see. Yeah. So the next thing now after that will be what to fix the collar for the neckline. So you can see that my loop is already in place. I had about 8 loops there, so I'll be fixing my button much later when I'm done. You can see how beautiful this is looking already. So this is ready, guys. So we'll be fixing the collar much later, but before that, I also want to go ahead and fix my elastic. Okay, yes, I want to go ahead and fix my elastic. So I'm going to be passing my elastic through my safety pin now. And this elastic, just work with your round sleeve circumference, okay? Work with the round sleeve circumference. Take about 2 or 3 inches away from that and you can use that elastic. Of course, there's room for adjustments. When you're done passing it through and you feel that it's too loose, you can always adjust it. So I'm just passing this through. Make sure to hold each end with a pin so that you don't have it, all going inside, So once you hold them down with a pin, then later on, you can go ahead and stitch the edges, okay, to put it in place. So I'm going to repeat the same process for the other side of the sleeve. Just pass your elastic through, hold it down with the pin to put the elastic in place, then go ahead and stitch both ends. Okay, that's exactly what I did here. You can see that. Yeah, so once that is done, then you can now go ahead and join the sides of this gown. So I'll just bring everything together, make sure it aligns very well. Then I'll go ahead and join the sides. So I'll sew from that sleeve part, so run it through the armhole and straight down to the end of the dress, and repeat the same thing for the other side as well. And that will be it, guys. So next now, we'll go to fix our collar. For that, I have to take measurements from all around the neckline. So just start from that center opening, take the measurements round the neckline to the other end. And so I got about 22.5. Please do this 2 or even 3 times just to be sure you get the right measurement, okay? So this is what I'm using. You can see this is my plain fabric. I've ironed my interfacing just to give it some weight. And a part of it, I also ironed my collar stayed there, okay? Yeah, and so I'm folding it into 2. Then I'll also go ahead and fold it into 4 because I need to get 2 pieces. One will stand as the main collar piece, the other will serve as what the lining to turn it over. Okay, yeah, so you can see it's folded into 4 already now. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure. Now remember it's 22.5 we measured, right, around the neckline. By the time I divide it into 2, I have 11.25. So I'll go ahead and measure my 11.25 from that edge there. Measure 11.25, then I'll also add 0.5 inches as well. You can see I'll add my 0.5 inches. Then I'll go ahead and make a straight line as you see me doing. All right, so on that line now, I also like to make a baseline. So I have to mark a straight line as well as a startup line, like you see me doing now. So now this is what we have. So I'm going to start at that edge, that line there. I'll go up by 0.5 inches. 0.5 inches, I'll indicate that point there. Then I will now indicate the center point. That's from one end to the other end. Whatever you have there, just divide it into 2 and indicate the midpoint. You can see that now. So from that midpoint, I'll connect it to that 0.5 inches up that line, just like you see me doing. You can see I'm marking that down now. Just trying to make it more visible. And this is what we have. So at this point, I can now measure my collar width. So I'll be working with 2.5 so that by the time I'm done sewing at the top and at the bottom, I'll be left with 1.5. So 1.5 is the aim I need for my collar width. So you can see me marking my 2.5. But when I got to that edge, I had some shortages there. So in order to make up, I had to now reduce it to 2.2. So instead of 2.5, I started marking 2.2, which is still close and it still worked out fine. 2.2, you can see me making the adjustment. So once I get that, I'll go ahead and connect all the points together just like you see me doing. And we're done, guys. Is that easy? Then I'll make my cutout. And so this is what we have. The next thing now is to go ahead and start sewing. Just place right side to right side. We're going to sew on the top and the sides. Just so the top and the sides. The only part that will be left open is the curvy parts. So turn it over and we'll be back. And this is what our collar looks like when we're done. You can see I've given this a very good press and this is looking all good now. So we can go ahead and start attaching it to our main dress. So I need to indicate the center points. I had to bring it all together into two equal parts. Then I went ahead to mark the center on both sides. Then I'll also repeat the same thing for my dress as well to get the center back neckline. The easy way was to bring my shoulder joinings together, and I went ahead to indicate the center back neckline. I marked it as well. Then I can now start matching up my collar to it. So we're going to be sewing on the right side first. So I placed it right side to right side. Now you're sewing the part that does not have the collar stay. You're sewing first with the part that does not have the collar stay. Okay, you can see the way I'm placing it. Just match it at the center and go ahead and start pinning it down. You pin it down all the way from that point round to the other end, and of course repeat it for the other side as well. Just take your time and do this, and trust me, you'll get it right. There's nothing difficult at all. So once this is done, you make your sew. At this point, you can see it's already looking nice. So once you're done sewing, you can now bring the part that has the collar tail to the front. Now this time around, we're going to be top stitching. So you just fold in about 0.5 and top stitch all the way from one end point to the other end. And guys, that's it, guys. It's that simple. We're done here. That is it, guys, on how to make this very beautiful piece. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Hope you find it helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you on the next one. Bye.